Okay, so I'm going to redo that. We're going to open the 2020 June 11th meet and confer negotiations. Have reviewed the norms, and we're now discussing the meeting minutes from April 16th. Dylan and admin team, are we good with the minutes from 4/16?
Yep.
I'm not sure what that was. That was probably my fault. I'm not sure. Okay, so I make a motion to approve the minutes from April 16th.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Anyone opposed to that? Otherwise, we'll approve them. All right, well, the minutes have passed and been approved, so thank you everyone for that. Moving on to pending proposals. So we have the first item, which is the board CEA team proposed change to classroom preparation. Dylan, do you want to talk through that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to share it? I don't know if you can share it on the screen for us, but I'll talk, and if you're figuring that out, that's fine too. So we had submitted a prep time proposal a few meetings ago, and so this is like attempt 2 at it, with also consideration for what our Fridays will look like when we move to a 4-day. So after conversations, that we've had here, and also with the superintendent and ed services, trying to kind of figure out, okay, how can we make this work? This is the draft that we came up with here. So heading in language to specify Monday through Thursday versus Friday, since students won't be here on Fridays, and then adjusting the minutes to reflect that. And if you see, we also added preschool minutes, and I kind of had a question mark in there because I wanted to go back and see, and talk to our preschool teachers and see what that would look like. And then elementary teachers, a minimum of 160 minutes. It's 4 days to 40 minutes during school week. 3 days of uninterrupted, 1 day professional learning community, before or after school time, kind of described in here. Professional learning communities, and then kind of duty time in that during that period. And the discussion was that campuses should be able to function with their employees having 60 minutes of duty per week, if the sites need that. And then also an option for, if there's an update or some kind of emergency situation, there being an optional business or professional development during the morning, based on, site administrator's discretion, 30 to 45 minutes. I think 45 is the max amount of time there would be anyway. And then the rest of that time being kind of individual prep time. Middle school is the same before and after school. The only difference is the minutes during the school week. Essentially, that's due to the scheduling differences that are at middle school. We want to kind of make this clear because last year at some campuses, we did have situations where, because there was a direction of 40-minute prep, the other 10 minutes of that block, people were assigned kind of duties that were not necessarily needed, like walking around the school in a certain pattern and so forth. So we wanted to make sure that, that time is being used to the best value at the middle school level. Then on Fridays, the discussion kind of led to, there's around 35, I think there's 35 exact Fridays during the school year. The idea was that one Friday a month would be prepper. The district would have Fridays where they could do professional development, one per quarter. And then the breakdown of kind of like the other Fridays on our proposal was 2.5 hours or 150 minutes of professional preparation time, and then the other 250 minutes administrators using that time for whatever they deem necessary, whether it's all staff PD or having people work in departments or work in teams or grade level and so forth. And then the difference with a 1 hour lunch on the professional Fridays. And that's a really kind of brief description, but maybe that'll get us started.
No, thank you, Dylan. um, that makes perfect sense. I think the one thing that we would like to add is just there are going to be more um, emergency situations because we don't know like what lunch is going to look like at the opening of school, or some of the prep times and things just because of the pandemic. So I would like to add a sentence. It's the only addition I have, or we have, is about emergency situations may alter the minutes, and also adding in that the Friday, I like the example schedule, but it can be moved. Like it doesn't, like you could have the prep time could be in the afternoon and the collaboration could be in the morning.
Yeah, I think we're open, I think, to amending that language, and I think I just forgot to edit that because I know that was part of the conversation. I think the idea was to suggest that the time when possible is in the morning, um, but also, obviously, like if Michael McDowell or something comes to the district and he's going to multiple sites on a Friday, having that ability to change things around is valuable. So I think if we, definitely, I think that we would hope, though, I don't know what the conversation was about keeping it all in one block so that it's, that time, that's 2.5 hours are together, meaning like, you're not doing like 30 minutes here and then you got a team thing and then 30 minutes on your own. And do you know what I'm saying?
Right. Yep. No, I agree with that. So
So Tom, is this a time where we can talk about the proposal on the table?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so in talking to many of the administrators about the duty time in particular, the 60 minutes before and after school, I will tell you there is a ton of hesitation about tying our hands with scheduling and that, and going with a very specific amount of time. And I feel like we need to maybe have a conversation, and not just with this team, but like in general, what things can happen during duty. I feel like we use that term and it's kind of looked down upon, like, oh, you have duty. Like it's not an important piece of the day. And first and foremost, we are responsible for student safety from the time they leave their home till the time they go back. And that's our utmost priority. And then second to that, I feel like when teachers are on duty, we talk about how important relationships are, how important spending time and building that with kids. Well, duty is an opportune time for that. You have the opportunity to get to know kids on a different level. And when I say you, I say anyone who is responsible for supervising kids at that particular time. So I feel like there's so many social skills and so many SEL pieces that could be brought into that we're not taking into account. And again, we're looking at it as, I'm a certified teacher, I should not have to do duty. And I feel like I speak for my other administrative colleagues, and that we need to look at it differently. And 60 minutes is probably not going to be enough to make sure that we are keeping all kids safe, especially during the pandemic.
Okay, so do you have an idea of like what that would like?
I'm going to be honest. I feel like we are really not treating each other as professionals if we are putting a time limit. I'm going to be honest. I'm an administrator. I don't have a time limit on the number of minutes I supervise students. It depends on the day. It depends on the situation. We've always, to my knowledge, and I'm sure there are campuses or situations where things are not exactly equitable, but I believe that the team that currently sits in the administration seats is very open and acknowledges like equity, and that one person shouldn't have 4 hours of duty, one person have 15 minutes. Like, I feel like everybody gets that. I feel like we all know we need to do what's best for kids collectively. So personally, and I think if you were to reach out to the admin staff, they would say they would like to not put a time limit.
I Dylan here. I think a couple things. One, I think that I totally agree that there's value to building relationships in duty and being outside with the students. But I think also another consideration is that without any time limit, that we are put in a situation where there are inequities. And I don't think it's simple enough to say that it's about having less duty, because an hour of duty a week is quite a bit of time in your contract day to have duty. I think, especially when you're a professional that was hired to educate students. But I think in also this conversation of duty minutes, that this is trying to make sure that minutes are allocated for and used for. And I guess I would ask, how many minutes do you think would be a maximum number that you think your site needs for safety? Because I definitely believe that you, as a site, 60 minutes per educator is more than enough time to ensure that happens, scheduling it the right way.
Well, and if you think about it that way, that could be 2 15-minute duties a day. Right now, we might have staggered start times. We might have staggered dismissal. There are schools who are much more heavily bused than others. I don't know what that bus schedule is going to look like and sound like. I know Tarver, for instance, and I think Atkinson, you can probably speak to that, Dylan. They have a lot more runs than, we have some schools who have no bus runs. So it's really hard to say exactly how many minutes per day, because each site has a little different needs when it comes to supervising children and keeping them safe. And we don't have the funding that I'm aware of to have enough monitors or other people to supervise kids before school, at lunch, and after school. It's a huge undertaking.
So, Janet, thank you for adding that feedback. I did add a line. I don't know if I can't figure out how to share my screen on this device, but I did add under, Dylan, if you can look at the shared document the proposal in the site-based collaboration time. I added a sentence that said emergency situations based on a pandemic, et cetera, may alter the dedicated minutes for preparation time, lunch, and duty. So Janet, does that capture what?
Well, so Tom, what if it's not a pandemic, but what if a site has a need and we aren't then able to fulfill that need because then we're not following the CEA, the guidelines? Do you see what I'm saying? It just gets really sticky. I'm just being very honest and transparent. It gets really, really sticky and really hard. And I want to advocate always for kids, and I'm also advocating for adults. I don't want anyone to feel like it's not equitable or their time is not being valued. I'm just saying this is a hard and a big decision to make.
I mean, we're also considering, right, that it's 4 days a week instead of 5. So we're looking at, right, 10, 15 minutes a day of duty per educator on campus. It seems to me that, it would, that you could manage safely the exiting of the school and the entrance of the school in that amount of time.
What about lunchtime and lunch recess?
Well, lunch duty, right? There's still the 10 minutes in the lunch language. So there's still.
Have you written a schedule, Dylan? Have you done a duty schedule? Do you had the opportunity to enjoy that, to enjoy that and write one to see, because I'm going to be honest, and Sandy can speak to this. I didn't hold our teachers at Spatolny to that 10-minute. They got theirs 5 days a week, but then we added time before or after school. I figured out a way to cover lunch, but then I needed extra help before or after school. And again, I feel like each school is a tiny bit different with things. And I think Dr. Murphy's on this call as well. I know that we use the term professional. You have a contract, but yet we're like counting minutes. I'm just really struggling with this whole thing when we're here.
Well, the reason that we have to do that is because historically in education, educators, in Arizona didn't even get a guaranteed lunch. So that's why we're counting minutes and we're looking at things, is because the thing is, when the minutes are clear and the language is clear, then there aren't inequities. But when it's not, you have different sites that will, sometimes take things to an extreme where they don't need to be. I guess that's what we're trying to do, is make something that's fair, consistent across the district.
Well,
I am definitely
60 minutes is not going to work.
Do you have a suggested time? Because originally, to be honest, I had that time actually a little bit higher, and the person who told me to knock it down was our superintendent. So tell me, because I'm not an administrator, I haven't created a duty schedule. I just want to have language that is clear and concise. Well,
and so I would say, if you are a school, large or small, and you do any kind of like your school-wide dismissal, even in the afternoon, we were looking at running what we felt was the safer dismissal for our campus, and it was going to involve every single person being outside every afternoon. Might be 10 minutes, might be 20 minutes. It depends till we get it better about exiting kids off campus safely. That's just one duty. That doesn't even take into account then arrival. So it's really, again, it's hard. So I personally would say I would go nothing less than 75, and I still don't know. I still am afraid my principal counterparts are going to be like, seriously? That's what we've got? But
how do you feel? And and I'll have to check with my team before. But how would you feel about 80 minutes? But I just want to be really clear that if sites don't need that, right, that time doesn't need to be used.
Well, and I don't think anyone, and I could be wrong, Dylan, because I don't make everybody's schedule, but I can't imagine people are just arbitrarily sticking staff out on duty just because. You know what I'm saying? Like that just doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I can tell you at least during the day at a couple of schools, people were walking literal laps at school just to fill duty time. So I know that
we need to talk to those people, and that to me is a culture and climate shift. Like, do you know what I'm saying? And I'm not discounting what you're saying. I'm just saying, wow, I think that's a big culture and climate thing.
Okay, so if we look at the before after school minutes, if we did something like this, would this work? So we say 80 minutes maximum allocated for duty per week, and it's not required to use all 80 minutes. And then for the optional staff meeting, if we could make and I'm listening here because I want to make sure I'm explaining correctly. So I think the idea of that staff meeting is if there's something a little more urgent, because there is so much time on the Fridays to do professional development. But let's say something comes up and we need to get on it now, boom, have a meeting there. So what if instead of 30 to 45, we just made that 30? And then at the bottom, we put it to 105. I think that gives us our 20 minutes.
I can't see the document, so let me just make sure. So originally on Friday for the extra collaboration time, is that what you're talking about, or
no,
whole staff meeting?
I'm talking about before or after the school day, before students get there, that time. So 80 minutes that could be used for duty,
right?
Dismissal, arrival. 30 minutes if there needs to be an optional meeting, a staff meeting.
Oh, during the course of the week.
Yeah, so
Got it.
I'm using the word optional just because I think most sites will be able to get their needs accomplished on the Fridays.
I would agree, unless it is like something comes up, like whether it be a 301 presentation, whatever that would maybe need to be done. But I agree. I think it could be done in 30 minutes.
And then the it'd be 105 minutes is what we would have left for individual prep time, which you know can range from meeting with parents to this and that.
Right.
And I think I think there we hit the minutes that are provided for.
Okay, and I can live with that, and I appreciate that we're at least like expanding it, because again, it is so very difficult to create a schedule that where you're able to take care of all kids and make sure they're all.
And we want the same thing.
So,
I think we're on the same page. And honestly, 80 is around where I had that originally. Like I said, we're just trying to kind of to spell it out a little bit. It just makes things, I think, so much easier because I'm sure HR knows, like, when there are inequities, it's when problems start to occur. But
right. Well,
so,
and we want to retain our teachers. We want to retain quality, and I know this year especially is very difficult because everything's in a state of flux. None of us really knows what it's going to look like yet. So, but I appreciate your willingness to compromise.
So
and then Tom, with your, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Dylan. So on the shared document, I changed it to 80 minutes and have the sentence about, pandemic, et cetera, for emergencies. So if you want to just take a look at how I updated that.
And Dylan, I don't know how many of the task force how many committees or what you've been sitting in on or privy to, but the reason we really feel like that is such a necessity is because statewide, arrival, dismissal, lunch, switching classrooms, like there's so many guidelines and so many different scenarios dependent on where we are with COVID-19. We felt like we really needed that to support kids, staff, administrators, everyone.
So we're talking about the emergency situations language, correct? I just, because I definitely don't disagree that there's things are probably going to be a little bit different. And there will be situations, I guess, and I don't know what it would look like. The only concern I want to express is making sure that we, that there's collaboration in what that looks like, I think, because based on that language, hypothetically, there could be situations where educators don't have lunch, right? Like time to eat lunch. And I'm not saying anyone would want to do that. I'm just saying, like, especially if we're eating in the classroom, being able to creatively figure out a chance for that to happen would be ideal. But I guess I do understand that this is an emergency situation based on the pandemic, and it's not going to be forever. So I think that our team will support that. I'd like to talk with them before we sign and just make sure. But I think I understand the purpose of that language. And I think that's kind of up top too anyway. Like teachers shall have no other assignment except in an emergency situation's already in the language. So I don't think it's really that different.
No, yeah, I mean, the sentence emergency situations are defined as situations that pose an immediate risk to health, life, property, or environment. I mean, it covers that as well. So I don't know if, Dylan, did you want to take a few minutes to talk to your team and then?
Yeah, and other than that, we're good to sign off today. If is that the message I can bring to my team here?
Tom, this is the one that includes the prep time as well, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so, and I'm so sorry. I came in like a minute late and I hate it. We did talk about the fact that we just wanted to make sure we could, if necessary, rearrange the blocks of time to fit whatever needs. So if we had like some sort of PD and the consultant need to be there in the morning, we could flop the teacher's block of their individual prep time till the afternoon or whatever.
Yep. So what I added, Janet, was example schedule for standard Friday times may be adjusted to meet the needs of a school site for student achievement. Blocks of time are the recommended structure based on the example schedule.
Okay, because like I said, I don't think in any way are we asking to split the blocks, just rearrange the order of them if necessary.
Yep. And I think, Dylan, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you acknowledge that it was just an example. But if we can keep the blocks together, that would be the ideal situation.
Yeah, that's the understanding that I share. Is that ideally, I think most people would prefer to have the time in the morning, because there's this opportunity for us not to, call in substitutes for the school week when students are there. You could go to the take care of your medical or dentist business on Friday morning, but also we understand that in terms of professional development scheduling or other things going on, it might make sense to have the flexibility. It makes sense to have the flexibility there.
All right. Yeah, that sounds good. Janet, you good with that?
Sorry, I muted myself. Yeah, can I clarify, Tom? So if I'm a teacher, administrator, whomever, and that morning time is the individual prep time, if I schedule a doctor's appointment, I still have to put in my time. I just do no sub needed, correct? Because I know my staff is going to ask this.
That's correct.
Okay, and then, but then the shared message would be, please be back in time for anything that would involve like PD or collaboration. Because what I don't want to happen is that it gets watered down or it's not important and teachers go, oh, well, Friday's not a big deal. I could just take the day off, because that negates everything that we're trying to do with it.
Yeah, I mean, we would still be following governing board policy regarding sick and personal time. So none of that would change.
Right. And then Dylan, and I'm sure your team is, but just again, verifying that the message is being spread that these days are really important, because we basically took all of Dr. Lawler's PLC days that she bargained for very heavily and our PD, and we're kind of putting them all on Fridays now. So just making sure that new staff and people realize that there's a lot to be gained from interfacing with your colleagues and having that prep time in your classroom.
I'm sorry, can you go say that one more time for me? I want to make sure I understand.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we're sharing the message across our staff that those Fridays are very important, because they not only will they have individual prep time to do what they need to do, but they're also going to have the they're going to be able to interface or collaborate with either a team or their staff or whatever. There's like a lot of learning time embedded in that Friday.
Yeah, I think I agree 100%. I think that honestly, the hope I have is that with the Fridays, with the way that we have them structured, will allow the majority of our employees to, and this is not really a reality because people are going to do work at home anyway, but the idea would be as close as possible to not having to take work home, and I think we can get pretty close with this proposal.
Right.
So
Right. Okay. All right. I'm good then. Thank you.
And I can share, Janet, also just from an attendance standpoint, when we did have the early release days, those were our best attendance days for teachers. So I believe there's already an understanding of honoring these are times. So I believe that will translate to Fridays as well.
Okay. Perfect.
Before we take a quick break here to caucus, Tom, I'm not sure if this is an appropriate time to ask this, but it relates to meet and confer and salary. I just received an email, and I wonder if you could kind of provide some knowledge about it. A survey to classified staff asking about their raise and how it's going to be delineated. I was pretty sure we had already agreed that was going into the base at the table.
Correct.
So have you seen this? Maybe I can just forward it to you, but
I have not seen it. No.
Okay. I'll forward it to you. I just got it. While we're here, it might be something to look into. So Um, okay. All right, and we'll meet back here in about 10 minutes. Is that fine?
Yeah, that works for me.
Okay.
How come you guys don't have your pictures up or your face? Oh, there's Mike. He
Because
does
my
have a
face looks like this,
face.
so I think for everybody's benefit, I
I
can,
like seeing your face.
mute my face.
Hey, I was just goofing off, so
I was waiting for you to like, oh, yes, Janet.
Well,
yeah.
I have swimming pool excavation going on, so it's not, you can hear it going by. I'm like in a construction zone here. There's a lot of noise.
Nice. You're getting a pool put in. That's exciting.
Yes, should have done it earlier. It's not gonna be done till August now, but
Oh man, you're not gonna be able, well, but thank God Phoenix is hot. You can still swim all
yeah, I'll still get 3
September.
months. Yeah.
Well, you'll have to share those pictures with us so we can go, oh, look what you do when you're retired.
Yeah, so I was trying to stay silent and just not get in trouble my last meet and confer.
I was trying to be kind, but make a point.
Well, that's good. I don't know, I don't know why we need to parse minutes with exempt professionals, but whatever.
That's what I was trying to get out, but we're not quite there yet.
No, we're not.
But I'm gonna keep asking for it. So, Mike Delisante, what are you gonna do when you retire? What's your first thing?
Just relax, golf, putter around the house, do a little travel
Nice.
when the travel bans are all lifted.
When you're, yeah, I was going to say, well, you can travel, you just can't go very far.
I have to check out for just a second. I'm on a phone call.
You're good.
So it looks like everyone's back in. Dylan, is that correct?
Yes, I believe so. So, are we good to start, or are we still recording?
Yeah, we're recording. Go ahead.
Okay. So let's see. Just there was one part that I wanted to clear up. Now I forgot what it was. I think it's okay. So yeah, those things at the bottom, those are just notes. Those are gone now. So that's good. The preschool time, did we get rid of the 180? Okay, perfect. I think we're good.
I
I
think
just wanted to make sure we got rid of the question mark up there.
the one thing from those notes on the bottom is, obviously there's going to be times when a principal or administrator wants a teacher to work with an instructional coach or the instructional support specialist. I don't know that that's spelled out like in the language.
It's not, but I don't know if it needs to be. And the reason why I say that is, I believe that, right, if somebody is on an improvement plan and they want to improve and they want to progress in that plan, that's something they would willingly do. Um, and I think that not doing those things, right, would would probably not help that educator improve at their profession. And I'm not sure if it needs to be specified in the actual language. And if we do, I want to make it really tight if it's in there, because we've had situations and I've seen improvement plans that have legitimately, and I'm not joking here, taken up every single planning period that someone had, making it essentially impossible to do their job on contract time. And I think I want to avoid that. But I like I said, I don't think that it's too common of an issue that we need specific language right now, or has it been too big of a problem? As long as there's an understanding that, all of that time won't be used to that. But, say I was on an improvement plan and I was asked, hey, will you sit down with the ISS on Friday? I think, the professional thing to expect from somebody is to take advantage of that time to improve at their profession.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think we've had a very collaborative approach to that, and we had conversations about improvement plans. But as long as there's an understanding, like even if you're not on an improvement plan, there may be a moment. That's why the ISS is employed at the school, is to help and coach teachers, regardless of the improvement plan. But I do agree. I don't think we have to put language in there. I just, as long as we can agree that it's a valuable tool for teachers to work with an ISS from time to time, we're good with that.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Okay. So I did remove those notes at the bottom because those are just my notes, going into the meeting to make sure that I captured everything. If we are good, then I did add the signature lines at the bottom.
Okay.
Now,
So we're good to sign then?
Yeah, I just have to find the document again. Yes, yep, that one that is live is good to go.
Tom, would you mind signing my name if that's allowed? I'm logged into a different email and I have to request access, but I'm giving permission to sign. So
On this document, or like I can just sign your name on anything? Are you?
just on this document, please.
I spelled it correctly, right?
Yep.
It's had a couple different versions throughout this process, so I just wanted to make sure.
That's true. My students always put it. The common mistake is putting it WAGELA. So
Yeah, you know how we from Michigan, all our names are weird. It's fine. All right, so I did add that. Does everything look good on this one?
yeah, I think it does.
All right, cool. Janet, board team, CEA team, everyone good?
I'm good.
All right, well, I'm going to close out of that document then and go to try to get back here to the agenda. I know the next one is the election day thing, but with the calendar and the Friday, I don't believe that's going to be addressed this year for the election day.
Yeah, and I think we understand that. We always hope to encourage democracy and participation, but we'll keep bringing this one to the table, and one of these years we'll get it passed.
All right. So I think I'm trying to find the agenda again here. I apologize. This different devices caused me a few issues. Let me just pull it back up real quick. All right. Sorry about the brief delay here. Okay, so the next item is the action items, which there are none. Other information. Does anyone have any future agenda items? This was our last plan meeting. So are we good closing out the meet and confer process for
I think we are and I'm sure that you'll work with Michela on this, and I know maybe the conversation will have to grow on when this work happens. But the combination of the handbooks sometime this summer, potentially getting underway. And then I guess, we can talk about it another time, just in regards to that email I just forwarded to you. I think that's something that we need to work out. But other than that, I think we are good to close the session.
All right, thank you. And I did read that email. I believe it's just an information seeking at this point to see where all the ESPs are at with what they would prefer. But we'll work through that and definitely have conversations in the future to make sure that's handled appropriately.
Okay, thank you.
All right, well, with all of that, the next meeting will be held during next school year. So I thank all of you for your time. And I know it's a lot of volunteer time, so I truly do appreciate everyone spending the extra time working through this meet and confer process. And I would like to move to adjourn the meeting.
I will second that.
Anyone opposed to adjourning the meeting? Yeah, I didn't think. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to working with everyone going forward.
Thank you.
Bye, Dr.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hi, everybody.
Bye.